shut down the Timberwolves, forcing 3 interceptions in the last 2 quarters for the victory with a score of 20-7.
In the state of Florida, high school sports are a major player. In Tallahassee, high school sports are a part of everyday life. On Thursday and Friday nights, the stands are packed with fans wanting to see the talented athletes. With the importance of high school sports in Tallahassee, the local media outlets will dedicate a good amount of their coverage to this group. As a result of the coverage, the young athletes will be placed in the spotlight. With being placed in the spotlight, what effect do the sports media portrayals have on these 14 to 18-year-old kids? The main question to be looked at in this documentary are what effect, if any, does the shaping of a sports story have on a Florida High athlete's self-identity? Does the amount of local sports coverage a Florida High athlete consumes affect his view of reality? And are high school athletes cultivated to act in a certain way due to the type of coverage they receive?
Of course, Friday night means high school football, and we have a few interstate matchups tonight in Valdosta. ABC 27's Dave Griffiths live at the Bazemore Hyder Stadium, the site of tonight's matchup between the Valdosta Wildcats and Lincoln Trojans. Dave, I imagine some bragging rights on the line tonight.
You got that right, Ann. High school football fans across the country are always seems to be arguing about which state is greater at high school football. Well, tonight we're going to find out.
For sports journalists, their job is to find the best way to show what happened from the beginning of the game to the final score, bringing the best information to life in either 30 seconds or a minute 30 to make the viewer feel like they were at the game. For WCTV sports director Elton Gumble, the process for picking what to cover is pretty simple.
And simple, you know, if you have 2 teams of local interest or 1 team of local interest, you're basically selecting that game and putting it on television, showing what happens, just picking out the big plays that you know are gonna make a difference, and the plays that everyone who was at the game is going to be talking about. So you want to make sure that people that did not have the chance to attend that game can see that.
High school volleyball season will soon be coming to an end. This afternoon, 2 of our local teams.
The coverage of local sports lets the community have more of a connection with local athletes. This connection can create a tie with the players, so the reporters would want to cover the athletes so people can get to know them. With the shaping of game highlights and other sports reports, there are bound to be questions about how high school athletes feel about the portrayals. Student athletes from Florida High School will be asked about their thoughts of the portrayals. Florida High School is a developmental research school for Florida State University. The school is located in Tallahassee, Florida. There are 13 sports, with baseball, football, and softball as the most known. For freshman football player and wrestler Jamison Ford, the reports are beneficial to athletes who are trying for a college scholarship.
It should be that way, the main stars, because, I mean, not everybody's going to get a scholarship, so, I mean, everybody's not going to have that opportunity to talk to scouts like they do.
For senior Florida High quarterback Dwayne Harvey Jr., he receives a lot of local coverage. Harvey thinks there should be no favoritism in who is covered in the media.
No, not really, because I always believe that it's always one team, one goal. And to win a championship, I think you have to have all your teammates. I don't think one guy should get more recognizing more than the other guys.
For senior offensive lineman Kason Ash, the portrayals help put the football program and the school on the map, even though the offensive line hardly receives coverage for the work they do on the field.
Yeah, I guess you could say that, but, you know, in a way they kind of deserve it too. I mean, like Dwayne, our quarterback, you know, he makes plays. So, I mean, he's going to get the coverage, but, I mean, even like on the offensive line, it's kind of like this, you know, all the way up from high school all the way up to the pros, you know, they don't really get lots and lots of recognition. It's the, you know, skilled players that normally get the recognition, you know, wide receivers and quarterbacks and stuff like that. We don't get recognition from, you know, like the newspapers or anything like that, but like our running backs and quarterbacks, you know, every once in a while we'll go hang out with them, they'll buy us dinner or something, you know, just, I mean, because they see it, they know that we're like we're a big part of their success. But I mean, I guess like the newspapers and stuff just don't, you know, they just see the big touchdown score. They don't really see what blocks happen for that to happen. It just kind of, I mean, it doesn't really bother me.
While some athletes think the shaping of the stories are good, another athlete thinks the reports are only focusing on one sport when all sports should be covered. For three-sport athlete Brian Maher, he thinks the football team receives special treatment due to the amount of media coverage.
Football gets more money, like they get funded more, like they get new uniforms and they get their fields kept up better, and they get like, I don't know, like they get more stuff than us because they're interviewed, like because they're on TV. So they want to promote our school through football. Like if soccer or any other sport was on TV, then I'm sure that sport would also get more money. So I feel like it's like because they're on TV, because they're most watched, they get like more stuff.
Just like on the field, there are bound to be differing views among sports journalists on reporting. For Sports Talk Radio host Jeff Cameron, the gathering of information and eventual shaping of a story does not follow the who, what, when, where, and why format that has been established in AP style.
I think consumers of the news, readers of the newspaper, and sports addicts and everybody else want perspective, or they certainly seem to flock towards that type of coverage. If you look at the opinion pieces that are run on websites everywhere and newspapers with op-ed, those seem to get the most clicks. Those seem to bring about the most attention. And people, I think, fall into a trap where if they add this nugget or they give this point of view, then it adds a little bit of juice to the story.
The shaping of these stories can raise questions as to what effect, if any, they have on the student athletes. One effect to look at is self-identity. As the athlete sees him or herself in the broadcasted stories, do they let this affect their individual identities?
For baseball, since we don't get as much coverage, and if ever we would get a coverage, I can imagine my teammates getting very hyped up and get such a big hubris that they won't be able to walk through a door, pretty much. But I can really see that as in having an effect on a power trip with any athlete.
Isaac Anderson is just one of the many athletes that say the way they see themselves in the reports can have an effect on their identity. For example, an athlete can see himself as more than just an athlete before he receives sports coverage. After he starts to receive coverage, he and the community could identify him as just an athlete and nothing else. Some would even say the press are doing a service by showcasing the talented players. Even though it seems the press is doing something good, at the same time, this could be affecting the players. For one media effects professor, the level of coverage affecting the player could stem from their parents.
You would think it would be up to the parents to regulate, but I think so many parents are so ego involved with their children that they're living vicariously through their children, or they're enjoying the media coverage of their children. And so that I don't see the press really backing off.
In addition to the athlete's identity possibly being affected, does the consumption of sports media by Florida High athletes affect the way an athlete acts and their view of reality? This will be addressed in the next section.